is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Hey, welcome into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, and also the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Welcome into our new surroundings here.
Kind of like what we got going on.
It's a work in progress. Pardon our progress, as Wade said on another show. But we're headed in the right direction. I think. Kind of digging this.
Yeah, we got a nice setup. We're still here in Columbia. There are high school quarterbacks that we're going to talk about on this show that probably could throw a football.
From where we were?
Yes,
to where
we're at. Yeah, I think I feel confident in that. So all in all, pretty good, but it is kind of nice. We got a little new car smell going on in here. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's nice. And again, it's a work in progress. So, what you see now isn't necessarily what you'll see in the next show or the show after that. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking a little bit about week 6 of the high school football season in Southern Middle Tennessee across Giles, Lawrence, and Maury counties, which was a 2-night affair thanks to Hurricane Helene.
Yeah. 3 nights technically.
Oh, you're right. Well, or 2 nights and an afternoon.
Yeah, good point. But man, the weather yet again kind of reared its ugly head, and obviously we were spared of the heavy damage. So our thoughts are with our folks over in East Tennessee.
Yeah, we needn't come off as if we're complaining.
But yes, for the second time in 3 weeks, we were dealing with a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving targets, as we like to say, in this one.
Yeah, but like you said, to our friends in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia and Western North Carolina, our thoughts and prayers truly do go out. And because, when you see some of the pictures of some of the devastation over there, devastation is really the only way you can put it.
Yeah, heartbreaking stuff, and you could prepare for a lot of things, but that was a situation that you probably cannot truly prepare for because it was rough.
Yeah. Kind of makes you feel a little guilty talking about high school football, but that's what we're going to do here for the next little bit. Again, we'll bring you up to speed on what took place in week 6 and get you ready for week 7. So let's do that when we come back here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
He shoots, and he scores! Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Hey, welcome back to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. I'm not Wade. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely.
There we go.
There we go. The guy in the white sweatshirt is Wade Neely. Yeah. Week 6, again, we got started on Thursday night this past weekend, and Columbia Academy went up to Ezel Harding over in Antioch, and we predicted, and it was a pretty solid limb to go out on.
Yeah.
But we predicted that Monte Baldwin would probably have a big ball game. Well, 167 yards, 19 carries, 4 touchdowns, as the Bulldogs defeated Ezel Harding 37-7 in a non-region matchup. They feel like they are starting to kind of find themselves, realize who they are.
Yeah, and like you said, we kind of gave everybody a little taste of perhaps what's to come, because they have a elite playmaker, regardless of classification. They used him to their advantage. Ezel Harding, maybe not the most difficult opponent that they faced all season, but those are games, especially given the conditions all of last week, those are games you got to go out and take care of business, and so it was good to see CA do just that.
Exactly, because, you see teams where one team has a decided advantage, and it still winds up being a game. Columbia Academy took care of business. Didn't hurt that they got a 75-yard kickoff return from freshman Wyatt Ayers to open the second half and kind of further open that gap there. But yeah, Columbia Academy improving to 4-2 on the season with that win, and like I said, starting to kind of settle into who they are. I think we'll find out more here in the next couple of weeks. I think. Summit on Thursday night goes to Franklin in a Region 6-6A matchup, and they scored, which was something that they had not done in their previous 3 games. But they did not score nearly enough as the Admirals win 38-7. Summit could not slow down Admirals quarterback Brewer Wilson, but I don't know that anyone has. He had thrown for 7 touchdowns in his previous 2 games. He threw for 5 Thursday night in the rain.
Man, slinging it in the rain. Franklin was impressive, and it's kind of one of those we've talked about the schedule that Summit has played and their offensive woes. Good to see, you just kind of, it's kind of like basketball, right? You got to see the ball go through the hoop. And getting into the end zone, even though the result ends up being very lopsided, it's got to be that's what you got to cling to for a little momentum now with a couple of home games coming up for these guys.
Sure. Summit is just kind of in a situation where they need something good to happen.
Yes.
And like you said, the schedule has not helped a whole lot along those lines. So tough sledding right now for the Spartans. Also on Thursday night, Spring Hill goes on the road in Region 5A action down at Lawrenceburg, down at Hendrick Stagg Stadium, taking on the Wildcats. Spring Hill coming off of a homecoming overtime victory and carrying some momentum into that matchup. Did not help.
No, this was one, and props. I was in awe and admiration of your ability on the sideline to stay as dry as possible, because I watched a lot of this game on the Exports Network. Shout out to our friends over there. And, man, covering that game looked like a pretty unpleasant experience. Lawrence County made it a pretty unpleasant experience for Spring Hill, who you had hoped maybe would keep a little momentum rolling. But that was a desperate Lawrence County team, and having them coming out and setting the tone like the way they did with the ground game was massive. And now it'll be interesting to see where these two squads go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Spring Hill, they've had some injuries, they've got some youth, and so they are young, inexperienced, and thin.
That's not a great recipe.
No, that's kind of like being, you know, they're big but they're slow.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation that Spring Hill is in right now, and Lawrence County, you know, is kind of keeping themselves in the thick of things, you know, in Region 5-5A with that victory. I mean, they lost a tough one the week before at Columbia Central, but took some things out of it. And their 1-2 punch in the running in the backfield of Carter Pettigrew and Ian Clayton. It's been Pettigrew who has been the more productive of the two prior to Thursday night. Clayton went for 188.
Yeah, he said, "Hey, let me show what I can do here."
Yep, it's funny. I was on Spring Hill sidelines for the game, which is also where the Lawrence County chain gang was. And one of them said something about a Spring Hill kid talking about Lawrence County's backup running back, Ian Clayton. And he said, he's not a backup. It's more like 1A and 1B.
You know, usually when you say running back by committee, you usually think, that's not necessarily the greatest thing. But sometimes when you got two standouts like they've got, that could be a really good thing. We saw a double dose in their win Thursday
Absolutely,
night.
Because Clayton went for 188. Pettigrew goes for 92.
Yeah, I mean, he was right there on the cusp with that 100-yard barrier as well. And you've made a great point. Lawrence County, this was kind of an elimination game in many regards for the playoffs, and Lawrence County punches their ticket to at least keep fighting. So a good win for Coach Marston and his bunch. We'll see if they can continue that momentum.
Absolutely. On Friday night, another wet night, even on artificial turf, as Lewis County and Mount Pleasant found out. But Lewis County scores on their first offensive possession. Mount Pleasant scores right before halftime. Mount Pleasant doesn't convert its 2-point conversion after the Panthers did. And that was the difference in an 8-6 ball game.
Man, and for Lewis County, who had played that crazy game versus Loretto the week before, Loretto was absolutely dominating Lewis County. Just something about the way that they didn't win, obviously, but Lewis County showed a lot coming back and making it somewhat respectable, somewhat close in the fourth quarter. And they kind of felt like that they took that to heart. And talk about a slobber knocker, 8-6, early scores, and then the defense kind of going to work for both teams there in a very hard-fought game, it sounded like.
Defense going to work. Mount Pleasant had the ball 3 times in the fourth quarter, did not cross midfield in any of those as they tried valiantly, desperately to come back. And, you know, they had some late heroics in each of their previous 2 games. They had a scoop and score in the second half to beat Harpeth 15-7. We're going to talk more about Harpeth in a second, by the way. They had they went to overtime against Summertown and scored on the first play of overtime to win that ball game, but kind of ran out of late game magic Friday night. And so Mount Pleasant falls to 5-1 on the year and 3-1 in region play. Lewis County, what are they? 4-2, 3-3. Lewis County is 3-3 and 2-2 in region play with that win. So big win for the Panthers.
Hey, that is a hard, kind of like the one we just talked about. That's a tough region. And Lewis County, however it shakes out, I promise you, you don't want to see them in the playoffs. You certainly obviously don't want to see Mount Pleasant, but Lewis County will be one of those teams that even if they finish at the 3 or the 4, you're thinking maybe they could go on the road and wouldn't be surprised if they maybe win a game in the first round.
Not sure you necessarily want them coming into your house for the first round. Absolutely. Continuing, Ravenwood with a 37-0 win over Independence. You know, we talked about Summit and their struggles. Independence, their first 6 foes are a combined 31-5. 5 of the 6 teams that they've played are in this week's Tennessee Sports Writers Association statewide polls in either Class 6A or Class 5A.
That is
That
tough. And the bad part is they willingly scheduled a few of those opponents, but the bad part is they didn't have any choice about scheduling a couple of them. And that is a murderer's row. And man, there are really no moral victories, some people would tell you, but man, Independence, as tough as it's been, you have played maybe one of the toughest schedules in all of Tennessee.
Absolutely. That was a Region 6-6A loss for Independence as they fall to 0-6 overall, 0-2 in league play. Columbia Central drops a Region 5-5A matchup with Tullahoma, falling 13-0. That game was moved to Battle Creek from Lindsey Nelson Stadium as a concession to the mess on Friday night. But regardless of the surface, Columbia Central had a tough time stopping Marvancy Johnson, who rushed for 205 yards and a touchdown for the Wildcats in that victory.
Man, this is a tough one for Columbia because you battled Shelbyville, deep into that game, and you drop that one. Then you bounce right back immediately, take care of business versus Lawrence County. And even though the venue did change, that's one, you're thinking, man, we should probably get this game. It ends up being a low-scoring game, kind of like Mount Pleasant and Lewis County. And just the offense unable to put any points on the board. It was a tough night for Columbia in a loaded region. That's one that you hope you don't look back at the end of the season and say, man, we really wish we would have had a different result that night.
Absolutely. Columbia Central with that loss falls to 3-3 in region play. They are 1-2. I'm sorry, they're 3-3 overall, 1-2 in region play. Tullahoma moves to 3-3, 2-1 in the region with that win. Continuing through the Week 6 schedule, the rain didn't seem to bother Richland a whole lot. 26-6 over Huntland in Region 5-1A action.
Yeah, this was a crazy game, and I think some of the Richland fans are a tough bunch. Haven't had a ton of success over the last decade and a half, but once they get a little taste, they want a little more. And I think a lot of folks, or a few folks at least, feel coming out of this one that this game could have been a little more lopsided, but Nick Patterson and his bunch do take care of business. They maybe weren't at their best, but they got Luke Eastlick and they got Nash Petty, and both of those guys really kind of set the tone as Eastlick just over 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and then Petty just shy of 100 yards, kind of like Lawrence County in that sense, but he had a touchdown as well. Richland is kind of rolling, and it was an interesting night in that regard offensively, Mo, because we've talked so much about Blaine Woodard and throwing the football. It's almost like Richland said, you know what, hey, we can also just win a game by not throwing it and just keeping it on the ground.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick enjoyed that.
Yeah. He's like, okay, this is kind of what I'm used to here. He's cracking his knuckles saying, this is my kind of game right here.
Exactly. I tell you, this was not David O'Connor's kind of ball game over at the Pit Friday night. Lincoln County 22, Giles County nothing, as OC drops one to his alma mater.
Yeah, that was a tough night, and Giles County really from the opening drive, they went 3 and out. That would be a recurring theme. I think 8 punts on the night. It was a rough go. Under 100 yards of total offense. The wind, it was raining pretty much the whole night, but the wind is what really hurt Giles County. They needed just a little bit more in the passing game to give them that balance that they kind of really thrive on, and they could not do it in the wind. And Lincoln County had a very impressive performance. I came out of that game pretty impressed with Lincoln County, who is growing in terms of enthusiasm and optimism week by week, it seems like now. Meanwhile, Giles County, that's one you don't want to watch that tape.
They've had a couple of those.
And the interesting thing is, they were shut out by Page in the first game of the season. You don't really want to watch that one, but you're like, okay, well, Page, their defense is pretty good. Lincoln County's pass rush, I do got to give them a shout out. They made Xavier Randolph very uncomfortable all night long. And so he was 4 of 14 passing, sacked several times. He was not comfortable. And you got to almost just say Lincoln County just flat out won that rivalry game rather than Giles losing it.
Loretto 44, Hickman County 6. Loretto has scored 105 points in their last 2 games.
The Mustangs, they are putting up eye-popping numbers, and they're doing it with Nick McDowell on the ground, but we've seen Corbin Reynolds getting involved. I mean, this is a Loretto offense that is fun to watch. I think Reynolds even had a kickoff return. They are an explosive team, and they've had 2 tough losses, one to rival Lawrence County and then one to rival Summertown. Other than that, Loretto is kind of taking care of business, and it will be interesting to see if that offense continues. You know, Hickman County, not exactly the toughest opponent, but you got to show up and put points on the board, and they did just that.
Absolutely. And on Saturday afternoon, Summertown went to Kingston Springs, and as you predicted, dropped a 14-3 decision to the Harpeth Indians.
And this was one that I just something you worried about, a team that has not had this much success in a while. You just wonder where they're at mentally, right? And it just felt like this would be a really tough. You move the game to Saturday. I mean, everything is kind of out of whack. And so Summertown, for all of that momentum they were riding, you couldn't tell them anything, you know, a couple of weeks ago. Now they are kind of reeling in terms of confidence. They have a tough close to their slate, and it will be one that they probably wish they had maybe gotten up for a little more, I think.
Yeah. When we come back here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, we will go through up-to-date offensive stats individually, and we will look at the Week 7 schedule. So stay tuned when we come back.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
He shoots and he scores!
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and also by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Let's look at our individual offensive stats after week 6 of the high school football season here in the Southern Middle Tennessee area. Let's start with our rushing stats. We mentioned Monte Baldwin with his 167-yard, 4-touchdown effort down at Ezel Harding. He went over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time in 4 years. He is the all-time rushing leader in CA history. Again, went for 1,000 plus as a freshman and sophomore, had 1960 last year. So scared the bejesus out of 2,000. And through 6 games, he's at 1,017. So, 2,000 may still be in play for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that can pop off for 200 plus any given night. So, yeah, and especially if we're talking about them maybe making a run deep into the season too, this could be we could be talking some eye-popping numbers by the time this thing is done for Mr. Baldwin.
He's gone for 400 in the last 2 weeks. 241 against Donaldson Christian and 167 on limited carries for him.
That's the interesting thing too, right? Is when they get up in some of these games, hey, big fella, you want 300 yards, but we got to keep you rested for the rest of the year.
Yeah, we don't need to get you hurt in this situation. Passing, Blaine Woodard is already over 1,000 yards, but he continues to put those passing numbers where no Richland Raider quarterback has ever gone before, I would think.
Yeah, we had to scroll back in the annals probably for Richland to come up with some numbers like this. And Woodard, we talked about it a little bit earlier in this show. Didn't ask him to throw as much, presumably because of the conditions, but also because the run game was so effective. And so Woodard continuing to play well, and he will probably, I imagine, increase those attempts as the weeks go on here under hopefully more favorable weather conditions.
Yeah, hopefully we got the rain out of the way. Receiving leaders, Jake Sands went over the 500-yard mark in Richland's win this past week over Huntland, and 30 catches for 506 yards. Harrison Brownlee, 33 catches for 426 yards. So we've got one guy over the 500-yard mark, one right at the cusp of going over it probably, and some other solid numbers across the area in, on both ends of the passing game, obviously.
Yeah, and same deal with the quarterbacks. So, some of these receivers, sometimes they get the rep of being divas, and so undoubtedly some of these guys are going to be going back saying, hey, man, my stats are a little skewed, and the coach has got to grab them and say, hey, man, let's settle down. It was a monsoon last week.
There we go.
Let's chill out. Don't worry. We'll come back to you, big fellas. But yeah, still impressive from those guys thus far.
Hey, we got the dub. That's all that matters, right? So let's spin into week 7. Again, got some Thursday night ball games to take a look at. We will start in South Nashville as Independence travels to Overton for a Thursday night kickoff. Again, the Eagles still looking for their first win of the season. They are 0-6 overall, 0-2 in Region 6-6A action. Overton 2-4, 0-2. The Bobcats are feeling like this is a game that can really propel them toward playoff eligibility. And Independence is thinking, we have played this meat grinder of a schedule to this point. Maybe this is where it pays off.
You would hope, and that's kind of got to be your calling card, right? If you're Independence, is can you tap into that factor of, hey, this is going to be the easiest team we've played thus far. But you also got to be careful you don't oversell that. Hey, you just show up and you win the game. That will be the delicate balancing act that this coaching staff will have to spin this week. But yes, in theory, Independence a chance. Man, it would be nice to see them potentially squeak one out. It's going to be a tough game, though, especially on the road.
Absolutely. Continuing with the Thursday night portion of the schedule, also in Region 6-6A, Ravenwood comes to Summit, and this is a tough assignment for the Spartans. Again, the host Spartans 1-5 overall, 0-2. They've not won since that season opening win over Spring Hill. They've scored 2 touchdowns in their last 5 games. Ravenwood is putting up points in its sleep almost, and so again, tough challenge for the hosts here.
Yeah, Summit at home, man. This is going to be one. To me, it seems the first things first is just can you get your team up and ready to play? Can you somehow sell your squad? Hey, we have been battling. We did win earlier in the season, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. This is a tough Ravenwood team that's coming to town. and just almost feels like you got to sell, hey, we're going to take this play by play. We're not even worried about scores. We're not even worried about possessions. Can we string together a couple of consecutive positive plays and then little by little maybe work ourselves into this game?
Can we string together positive plays, and can we beat the guy across from us?
Yeah,
I mean,
break it down even more, right?
I mean, it's at some point it comes back to a pride thing, right?
Yes.
It's beating the guy across from you.
Yep, and that is well said, because, you know, things have not gone your way. Yeah, everybody knows that, not just inside the halls at Summit. But Ravenwood, if anything, this is a chance for Summit to say, hey, if we're going to win another game, why not win this one? You know, if we're gonna beat somebody, let's take out a really good Ravenwood team at home here.
And that's what you've got. Again, Ravenwood coming in here 6-0 overall, 2-0 in region play, and at the top of 6-6A. Summit 1-5, 0-2. Our third Thursday night game has Tullahoma going to Lawrence County. Both these teams coming off victories in region play. Tullahoma again winning 13-0 against Columbia Central over at Battle Creek. Lawrence County having won at home on Thursday night. This is the second straight Thursday night game for the Wildcats.
And their third in like 4 weeks is the Cowbell game a couple of weeks ago. They you know, who needs to play on Friday? We got this Thursday thing on lock over here at Lawrence County.
Well, they've got the Thursday thing on lock, but I mean, those kids having to get up and go to school on Friday, I'm not sure how much they're digging that.
Yeah, that does make it tough. And so maybe that's the sell, right? You know, maybe, hey, do you want to roam the halls on Friday as a winner? Or as Coach Marston said earlier this year, do you want to roam the halls on Friday perhaps as a loser? Are we going to sit back and be losers? This, I think, quick glance at the slate, I think this will be your sneaky good game of the week. There's another one I got my eye on, but I think this one could be a real battle, and Lawrence County could easily win this game. But I could also see Tullahoma fresh off, you know, maybe a surprise result versus Columbia. Maybe this is Tullahoma coming in and saying, hey, we got a little something to say in this region.
I'm told that they refer to this one as the City Cats versus the County Cats. So, cat fight.
It's going to be a pure-on cat fight over in Lawrence County, taking on Tullahoma. I think this will be good. And Lawrence County's fans, they do. The other cool thing is Thursday night, no excuse for the kids not to come out and support your team. Lawrence County usually does that. No matter what their record is, they come out and support their squad. So I think it'll be a raucous environment coming up Thursday night.
Columbia Academy goes up I-24 on Friday in region play, taking on Clarksville Academy. So it's CA versus CA. Good luck for whoever's keeping notes on that one. The Bulldogs 4-2 overall, 1-0 in Division 2A Middle Region action. Clarksville Academy, the Cougars, 1-4 overall, 0-1. And again, Columbia Academy coming off of solid back-to-back performances against Donaldson Christian and Ezel Harding.
Yep, and this game to me is, I mean, you could boil it down to what kind of game is Baldwin going to have, because if he has a average game, I think Columbia Academy, you know, you still got a pretty doggone good chance to win. If he goes above average, man, you really start increasing your win probability by a lot. And I think this might be the night, yeah, kind of like we mentioned a moment ago. Hey, we don't need you potentially in the fourth quarter. If you take care of business early, which he certainly is capable of and has done, get a little bit of rest in the fourth. It'll be fun to watch Columbia Academy go on the road and try and pick up another nice win.
Yeah, get some of these young pups in the game. I think they still call it the Backyard Bowl. I'm not entirely sure, but Columbia Central and Spring Hill will hook horns Friday night in North Columbia, I guess, as the Raiders will host this one. Columbia Central 3-3 overall, 1-2 in Region 5-5A action. The Raiders 1-5, 0-2. Central has pretty well dominated this series, but Central coming off of a tough 13-0 loss to Tullahoma last week. Spring Hill coming off that 26-7 loss on Thursday down at Lawrence County. And I will tell you, If Spring Hill has a shot at postseason play, it hinges on this ball game right here. Columbia Central can help itself out along those lines with a win right here.
Yeah, mentioned earlier that maybe Spring Hill, Lawrence County was an elimination game. If you're Spring Hill, this is for sure an elimination game. If you win this one, though, not only do you win your first region game, but you also move Columbia down the pecking order, and that could open yourself up for some possibilities down the road. It's going to be a hard-fought rivalry game. I would give Columbia a huge advantage, and maybe I still do, but, man, you got to wonder where their head's at after they kind of lose one that you look back and you maybe say, man, we probably should not have lost that game. So I think this will be a fun one, and it will be two county rivals, like you said, locking horns this week.
Two county rivals and two relatively desperate teams.
Yeah.
In terms of postseason play. So, yeah, I think this is one to keep an eye on. Mount Pleasant steps out of region action, goes to Donaldson Christian. Both these teams are 5-1. Mount Pleasant obviously coming off a tough 8-6 loss to Lewis County in region play. Donaldson Christian's only lost to this point was a couple of weeks ago to Columbia Academy down here in Columbia. Should be an interesting matchup just from the standpoint that Donaldson Christian has had some success. Mount Pleasant offensively, man, they've looked a little disjointed at times over the course of the season. Obviously they lost a lot on that side of the ball from last year, but they just look a little disjointed. I think that's the best way to put it. And if they can put it together on the road, this could be a big win for them. If not, things get kind of interesting, I think. Yeah,
and this is a fascinating game to me. I mentioned earlier that the potential sneaky good game of the week was Tullahoma and Lawrence County. I think this is right up there with it in the sense that Mount Pleasant, I don't think there was an overlook factor necessarily last week with Lewis County, but it is fascinating that you have a hard-fought, tough region opponent and you drop it at home. And then now you go on the road and you play a really, really quality team in DCA, and this is a non-region game. Mm-hmm. So how do you sell your team on that is what I'm curious about, because you certainly can't come out and say, hey, if we lose, it was a non-region game. That kind of is off the table in my opinion. But you try and get your team up. You mentioned your offensive woes. They haven't gone over 20 points, back since early September. They've only scored 30 twice this year, and that was the first 2 weeks of the season. They do have some offensive questions. They haven't given up a lot on defense.
No.
But they would prefer not to be in these low-scoring, real nail-biters.
Low scoring, low margin for error.
Correct. Yeah, you reduce that score, and all of a sudden you have to play darn near perfect to win this game on the road.
A couple of teams that have traditionally seen some success have not to this point this season. Watertown 1-5 overall, 0-1 in Region 4-3A. Giles County 2-3. This is their region debut, but those two will lock up at the Brickyard Friday night.
Yeah, and this will be an interesting game for Giles County, who laid an absolute egg Friday night versus Lincoln County. And this is kind of Watertown is, yes, their record is not the greatest, but they held their own versus Giles County for about a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half last year. Kind of surprised GCHS on the back up at Watertown. So playing at home, it's homecoming. That coaches love to bring up. Where's your team at with headspace there? Mm-hmm. I hope that Giles County, and if you're a Bobcat fan, you hope that they don't show up just assuming a victory, because this team is not as good as some of the previous Bobcat teams in the last couple of years. They can't afford to assume anything at this point. So if they do assume this, Watertown, as bad as that record does look, could give them a sneaky good game here.
Loretto, having won its last two outings, goes to East Hickman, which has only lost once. The Mustangs 4-2 overall, 3-1 in Region 5-2A. East Hickman 5-1, undefeated at 3-0 in the region.
This one is going to be a very interesting game for me. I feel like I got a pretty good grasp of what Loretto is and what they're about. Obviously, don't really have much familiarity with East Hickman, and that to me is the selling point in this game, is how tough is East Hickman. Loretto feels, I know they've been putting up, 1 million points the last couple of weeks, but at their core, they're just some flat out, just hard-nosed kids from South Lawrence County. And can they out-physical East Hickman? That will be the selling point for me, the tipping point, if you will. And I'm excited for this one. This could be one of your, again, games of the week.
It's funny you said that because, for all the high-flying offense and that kind of thing, Loretta's not a team that's afraid to hit you in the mouth. And they're not afraid to take a punch.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was thinking is, if you told me this was a 10-9 game, I would give the advantage to Loretto because I just feels like they just play with that perpetual chip on their shoulder. I don't know what it is. They're just kind of mean and nasty down there. And, yeah, it's cool that you can go out and score 50, 60 points a game in back-to-back weeks. But they're content winning an ugly one, too. And I think this will be a real battle. This is more about what East Hickman is about, in my opinion, than what Loretto is about.
Region 5 1A leader Richland, 5-1 overall, 3-0 in the region, travels to Collinwood, 2-3 overall, 0-2 in region play. The Trojans, as most of the teams ahead of them on the Raiders schedule, I'm not sure they're ready for this. I mean, again, what Richland is doing offensively is a game that they've not shown ever under Nick Patterson, and they really put a lot of pressure on you deep. They put a lot of pressure on you on the perimeter, and they can run the ball.
Richland can do a lot of things on the offensive end. Collinwood is a team that's kind of been up and down. Some of their wins are against, not maybe the most impressive teams, but they have had some close losses, dropped a heartbreaker to Eagleville. Richland, on paper, this should be a game that Richland should go on the road and take care of business. Historically, Richland has struggled at times to go on the road and take care of business. We'll kind of find another layer of legitimacy, I think, about this Richland program, which is weird to say about a team playing a 2-3 squad in Collinwood. But I think if Richland can go on the road and do a business-like victory, that tells us a little more about where the Raiders are this year.
Waverly, 0-5 overall, 0-3 in Region 5 2A, comes to Summertown. And if we thought Summertown would be a little irritated after that 19-13 overtime loss at home to Mount Pleasant, they're really going to be irritated after that 14-3 loss on Saturday at Harpeth. The Eagles, 4-2 overall, 2-2 in league play.
Yeah, and had a lot of questions about the psyche of Summertown last week, and they do go on the road on a Saturday and fall to Harpeth. In theory, this is one where you get back to good in that sense for Summertown. I think being at home will definitely help them, and I think not having to worry about the weather and things. Just Summertown was a squad that really kind of couldn't afford any deviation from the norm because they're kind of so brand new to the success that they found. So if they can take care of business here, they're kind of right back on track. I don't think there will be a hangover effect from these back-to-back losses, but it at least is in the realm of possibility despite Waverly's record.
Sure. When we come back here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, Wade and I will share some predictions, and we'll tell you where we stand through 6 weeks of predictions. So stay tuned after this.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, and also by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Last week, we both kind of took it on the chin, relatively speaking. I went 7-3 on my predictions. Wade went 6-3. We were both kind of done in. Well, I won't say done in, but congratulations to Lewis County and Tullahoma for upsetting our apple cart, as well as Harpeth, because we went with Mount Pleasant, Columbia Central, and Summertown in those 3 matchups and came up short. But, it happens.
That was last week.
That was last week.
We've slept since then. It's beyond us.
Hope springs eternal. And so with that said, let's take a look at this week's matchups, starting with Independence's trip Thursday night to Overton in a big Region 6-6A matchup, as big as a region matchup between 2 winless teams can be. Again, Independence 0-6 overall, 0-2 in the region. Overton 2-4, 0-2. This one's going to mean a lot for the winner.
Yeah, and to me, this game comes down to, can Independence rally the troops and say, hey, this is the one that we need to get? I don't want to miss the party. I don't want to be left off the bus if I miss one of the few Independence picks of the year. Give me Independence going on the road and beating Overton. It's going to be close, though. And I would not be surprised if Overton wins, but I'm taking Independence on the road.
You know what? That is exactly my approach to this. I
don't like to miss the party.
I think this is the best chance Independence has had to this point of winning a ball game, and I think some kind of way they punch through and do so. I think it's a 1-possession ball game.
Yeah.
I think Independence figures out a way to get it done on the road right here. Also, again, on Thursday night, we have Ravenwood traveling to Summit, the unbeaten Raptors 6-0, 2-0 in Region 6-6A. Summit 1-5, 0-2.
1-5 and 0-2. And I got love for the Spartans. I got some friends up in that way, but I can't go against Ravenwood. This is kind of strictly business here. Give me Ravenwood big in this one.
It's tough to imagine the scenario, with all due respect to the Spartans, that would result in them winning this ball game. I'm taking Ravenwood. Tullahoma 3-3 overall, 2-1 in Region 5-5A, travels to Lawrence County 2-4, 1-2. Again, the City Cats versus the County Cats in a Thursday night matchup. You laid out some stuff in the last segment regarding this matchup that really has me thinking a little bit differently about this game, but I want to see how you pick it.
Well, I might have accidentally, if that was the case, I might have pulled a Lee Corso on you then, because I think Lawrence County has got a great shot to win this game, and I think things are set up nicely for them. Tullahoma's making a second long road trip, a lot of miles on these Cats going back to back. But I think Tullahoma has just kind of turned a little bit of a corner, maybe surprising some folks in this region. I will not be shocked if Lawrence County wins this game, but I think Tullahoma sets the tone early and does win it on the road.
That's kind of where I was and am leaning. Again, this feels like it could be a 1-possession game, just because I think Lawrence County has really kind of grown up some over the last couple of weeks. I'm just not sure if they've grown up this much. I'm taking Tullahoma in this one. Friday night games. Columbia Academy goes to Clarksville Academy. If they survive the bus ride, I'm just going to tell you, I like Columbia Academy in this one. Again, I'm not a huge Gino Auriemma fan, but when he once said, "We've got Diana Taurasi and you don't," I kind of feel like that's where Seth Anderson is right now. We got Monte Baldwin and you don't, and I think that's going to be enough for Columbia Academy here.
I'm with you, Columbia Academy. I would be surprised, let's just put it to you that way, if they don't, because the recipe for victory seems pretty simple. Get a good game out of Baldwin, don't really make too many mistakes, and you win the game. And they've been able to do that more often than not. I think Columbia Academy does survive and does dispatch Clarksville Academy.
Columbia Central in the Backyard Bowl goes to Spring Hill, and it's not just for pride, but it's also for a Region 5-5A win. And as much as Spring Hill needs one of those, I feel like Columbia Central needs one more. And on that basis, I like Central here.
Yeah, Spring Hill, they will be up for this game, maybe as up as they can be for a game for a team that's already 0-2 in the region. If they were to somehow win, this would really kind of send some shockwaves throughout that region and those standings. I don't think that happens, though. I think Columbia Central kind of gets back to their winning ways, and I think they take care of business. It might be an ugly game, but it might be too much for Spring Hill to handle. I like the Lions.
It may very well be an ugly game.
I kind of get the feeling it's going to be an ugly one.
Yeah.
Penalties and turnovers, I think, will both play a factor in this game. Even despite that, I think Columbia finds a way to win.
Columbia Central has not been great offensively either.
Gives you a little cause for concern, right?
Yeah. Speaking of teams that have not been great offensively, Mount Pleasant goes to Donaldson Christian. Both these teams are 5-1. Surprisingly so in one case, because as you mentioned, Mount Pleasant hasn't scored a whole lot.
No, and that's something we're not used to seeing, right? We're used to Mount Pleasant really putting up the numbers offensively. They've won some games, with limited offense. But that's not their traditional recipe. Going on the road, taking on a different opponent. Curious about the headspace, especially with it being a non-region game. I don't know a lot about Donaldson Christian Academy, but I do know that they will be prepared for this one. I'm taking DCA at home to Friday night versus Mount Pleasant.
In Mount Pleasant's last 5 games, they have scored 5 offensive touchdowns. One of those was in overtime.
Played some good defenses, but still kind of not what we're used to seeing from those guys, right?
Not at all. I am also taking Donaldson Christian in this one. I think it's going to be another close one, but I think I've got misgivings about Mount Pleasant offensively right now, and even at 5-1. So, continuing through the Friday night slate, Watertown comes to the Brickyard, taking on the Bobcats of Giles County. The Purple Tigers, 1-5 overall, 0-1 in Region 4-3A. Giles County, 2-3. This is their first region outing.
First region outing for GCHS, and, if there was a chance to get back, Giles County's in a weird spot because their non-region schedule is loaded. And then when you get to region, outside of maybe Sequatchie County, the region schedule really comes kind of crashing down. The only real question for me is mental for Giles County, and this will be a fun one for GCHS to hopefully get back to business. And I will not be calling the game Friday night. I'll be out of town. So how about this? A rare Giles County pick for the boy here.
Oh, so you're picking the Bobcats?
You know what? I like the Bobcats. They struggled in the first quarter versus Watertown last year, and then really took care of business. I think they take care of business Friday night. I hope they take care of business Friday night.
Well, I'll tell you, if Wade Neely is picking the Bobcats, who am I to pick against them? So it's a Bobcat sweep here. In another cat fight, Tigers, Bobcats. Yeah.
In the Tommy Bryan Bowl.
There we go. Absolutely. Region 5-2A action continues as Loretto travels to league leader East Hickman, and I'm not sure when those two phrases have been used together, but the Mustangs 4-2 overall, 3-1 in region play. East Hickman undefeated at 3-0 in 5-2A, 5-1 overall. Who do you like?
You mentioned Giles County a moment ago. They used to play in a region back in the day with East Hickman, and I got love for everybody up there in Lyles, Tennessee. They were great to me, and we had some great times up there in that area, but I cannot pick against Loretto in this game. I think Loretto They may score 40 points and win the game, but I still think they out-physical East Hickman. I don't know that East Hickman has played a team as tenacious as Loretto. And I think a win will come their way, whether it's high scoring or low scoring. But I do think it will be a good game.
Yeah, I like the Mustangs in this one as well. Just kind of the resilience that team plays with from week to week kind of gives me a little confidence in that pick. In Region 5, 1A, the Raiders of Richland, 5-1 overall, 3-0 in league play, go to Collinwood, making the long trip. The Trojans, 2-3 overall, 0-2 in league play. And I said it in the previous segment, I just don't know that Collinwood is prepared to defend the whole field the way Richland is going to make them have to defend it. I just don't know that they have enough athleticism all over the field to keep up. I like Richland in this one, and maybe big.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I'm taking Richland as well. This is a game when their offense is clicking and they're throwing it all over the place, they're running it all over the place. That is a recipe that a lot of smaller schools do not have to face very often. Mm-hmm. I think Collinwood, will be a little stunned by that if Richland's playing at their best, and I do think they continue to play well. They've won every game since a week 1 loss to Lincoln County. Give me the Raiders on the road.
Quickly, finally, Waverly, 0-5, 0-3 in Region 5, 2A, coming to Summertown, 4-2, 2-2. I think the Eagles get back, get right, get some frustration out. I like Summertown here.
I'm taking Summertown as well. I'm hoping that they win this game because, man, it's going to be a tough sledding the last couple weeks of the season. This needs to be a win in their favor.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for joining us here in Week 7 of the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We'll see y'all next week.
This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts, Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts, Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Do you wanna be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you wanna taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.